The Black Queen hangs in the center of the board, undefended, vulnerable, a gift wrapped in gold. Marcus Reed stares at it, his hand trembling. Take it, and he equalizes the game. Leave it, and the American keeps the pressure. But something feels wrong. The 24-year-old across from him is smiling, not the smile of someone who blundered, the smile of someone who knows something you don't. Reed's fingers hover over his bishop. His heart pounds. This is the moment that will define everything. But how did they get here? How did a nobody from Oregon force a British legend into this impossible choice? The answer lies 33 moves back, when everything began with the most insane opening anyone had ever seen. The Royal Albert Hall in London is packed. It's October 1990. 3,000 people in absolute silence. The Berlin Wall has fallen. The Soviet Empire is crumbling. And the chess world is watching something unprecedented, a 24-year-old American nobody challenging a British legend on his home soil. On one side, Marcus Reed, 41 years old, the British legend, known as the London Wall, because in 18 years as a professional, he has never lost a game on English soil. Three-time British champion, former World Championship candidate, methodical, patient, unbreakable. On the other, Daniel Cross, 24 years old. The American upstart. Nobody knew his name 6 months ago. He qualified for this match by winning a small tournament in Oregon. No sponsor, no trainer, just him and a dream. The British press called it a mismatch. The bookmakers gave Cross 20-1 odds. Nobody believed, except Cross. The arbiter starts the clock. Cross touches the pawn on e2, pushes it to e4. Fischer's opening. Reed responds calmly. Pawn from c7 to c5. The Sicilian. Come at me, boy. Cross develops his knight. Knight from g1 to f3. Reed mirrors. Pawn from d7 to d6. The American pushes his central pawn. Pawn from d2 to d4. Reed captures. Pawn from c5 takes on d4. Cross recaptures with his knight. Standard. Textbook. Everyone in the audience has seen this 1,000 times, but on move 5, Cross does something nobody expects. He moves his bishop, not to the normal square on e2 or c4. He swings it all the way to c4, then immediately castles kingside. Normal so far. But on move 7, he does the unthinkable. He pushes his f-pawn from f2 to f4. The audience murmurs, "What is he doing? You don't push the f-pawn when you've castled kingside. It weakens your king. It opens lines for the opponent. Every chess teacher in the world tells you never push the f-pawn after castling, but Cross doesn't care." Reed looks at the move, confused. Is this kid insane? But he knows opportunity when he sees it. If Cross wants to weaken his king, fine. Reed will punish him. He develops calmly. Knight from b8 to c6, preparing to put pressure on the center. Cross pushes the f-pawn again, from f4 to f5. Now the audience gasps. He's creating a massive pawn wedge, pointing directly at Reed's position. The American brings his knight from b1 to c3. His queen slides from d1 to f3. Everything is aiming at the king side, at f7, at the black king. Reed senses danger but stays calm. He's seen aggressive players before. They attack, they sacrifice, they burn out. He just needs to defend accurately. He moves his bishop from c8 to d7, developing, staying solid. Move 12, Cross sacrifices his first piece. He pushes his knight from c3 to d5, right into the center, offering it. Reed looks. If he takes with his knight from f6, the pawn from e4 recaptures and opens the e-file. If he doesn't take, the knight sits there like a thorn. Reed takes. Knight from f6 captures knight on d5. Cross recaptures. Pawn from e4 takes knight on d5. The center opens. The e-file opens. White rook from f1 slides to e1, staring at the black king's position. But Cross isn't done. Move 15, he sacrifices again. He pushes his bishop. Bishop from c4 takes pawn on f7. Check. The king has to take it. King from e8 captures bishop on f7. And Cross unleashes hell. Queen from f3 to h5. Check. The queen leaps to the king side, right next to the exposed king. Reed has to move. King from f7 to e7, the only square. Cross brings his rook. Rook from e1 to e4. doubling the pressure. Reed's position is shaking. His king is in the center, exposed, vulnerable. The legend defends. He brings his knight from c6 to d4, trying to block, trying to trade pieces, but Cross has calculated everything. He moves his rook. Rook from e4 takes knight on d4, capturing it. Reed recaptures. Pawn from c5 takes rook on d4. And then comes the moment that shocks the world. Cross lifts his queen and places her on e5. Right in the center of the board, hanging, undefended. She can be taken by the pawn on d4 or the bishop on d7. The audience goes silent. Reed stares at the queen. His hand trembles. What is this? A blunder? A trap? He calculates. 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes. If he takes with the pawn from d4 takes queen on e5. Cross has knight from g1 to f3. The knight comes with tempo, attacking the king. Then rook from a1 to e1. Then the king is mated. He sees it. A forced sequence. 5 moves. Checkmate. If he takes with the bishop from d7 takes queen on e5. Cross has rook from a1 to e1, pinning the bishop to the king. The bishop can't move. And then knight to g5. Check. And the king dies. Reed's clock ticks. 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 6 minutes. He realizes, I can't take the queen. He moves his king instead. King from e7 to f8, running, trying to escape. But Cross doesn't take his queen back. He leaves her there, hanging, and brings his knight into the attack. Knight from g1 to f3. Now the queen isn't hanging anymore. The knight defends her, and suddenly Cross has queen, knight, and rook all aiming at the black king. Reed tries to defend. He moves his rook from h8 to e8, trying to trade rooks. Cross trades. Rook from a1 to e1, exchanging rooks, but now his knight leaps. Knight from f3 to g5, attacking f7, attacking h7, controlling everything. Reed's position is collapsing. Move 25. Reed is down material but still fighting. He has rook, bishop, and pawns. Cross has queen, knight, and pawns, technically equal material, but the position tells a different story. Cross's pieces dance. His queen slides from e5 to f4. His knight jumps from g5 to e6. Check. King from f8 to g8. The king runs back to where it started, but there's no safety there anymore. The American pushes his pawn. Pawn from f5 to f6, opening more lines. Reed blocks with his pawn. Pawn from g7 to g6, but this weakens everything around his king. Cross maneuvers. Queen from f4 to h6, threatening the pawn on g6. Knight from e6 to f4, attacking g6 again. Reed's defenses are paper-thin. Move 30. The legend makes a desperate attempt. He pushes his passed pawn. Pawn from d4 to d3, racing toward promotion, trying to create counterplay. Cross ignores it. Queen from h6 takes pawn on g6. Check. King from g8 to h8. The American brings his knight. Knight from f4 to e6, covering everything. Reed pushes his pawn. Pawn from d3 to d2. One square from becoming a queen. Cross looks at it, smiles, and moves his queen. Queen from g6 to g7. Checkmate. The black king on h8 has nowhere to go. The queen on g7 is protected by the knight on e6. It's over. Reed stares at the board. The hall is completely silent. And then Cross does something nobody expects. He stands up, walks around the table, and extends his hand to Reed, not to shake it in victory, but to help him up. "You're the greatest player I've ever faced," Cross says. "That defense was incredible. You held on longer than anyone thought possible." Reed looks at him. This kid just destroyed him, just ended his 18-year undefeated streak on English soil, just humiliated him in front of 3,000 people, and he's showing respect. A tear runs down Reed's face, not from losing, but from realizing something. The game isn't about winning, it's about honor. He takes Cross's hand, stands, and pulls the young American into a hug. The audience erupts. Standing ovation. People are crying, not because they watched a great game, but because they watched something greater. Respect, grace, humanity. Years later, that game would be remembered as the London Sacrifice. And Reed, in his autobiography, would write, "That day, a 24-year-old American taught a 41-year-old legend what chess is really about. Not destroying your opponent, but honoring them. Tenta novamente, DS.